Welcome, everybody, to Inside Boxing Weekly on the Gruely Truth Sports Network. Inside Boxing Weekly is brought to you by the Retired Boxers Foundation. Make sure you go check them out on Facebook with Alex Ramos and Jackie Richardson. I'm your host for Inside Boxing Weekly, Mike Goodpaster, and this week we've got a special show because John Einreinhofer, Jeremiah Pricer couldn't do the show tonight. We haven't been on in a couple weeks. So I had an opportunity to interview somebody here that I think is trying to do some really great things in boxing. You know, a lot of promotional companies, always aren't above board with fighters. But without any further ado, help me. I'm going to introduce the man from James Hagler Promotions, James Hagler himself. How you doing, James?
How you doing, Mike? I'm doing great.
All right, James. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, anybody listening is immediately saying, is he related to Marvin Hagler? So we get that out of the way. Yeah, you're Marvin Hagler's son. But tell us about how you got into boxing. I'm sure that had something to do with it. And talk to us a little bit about your amateur career, because from what I read, you had a nice career.
Well, yeah, it was decent. It was okay. As you know, my father is Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and that's how I got into boxing. I used to go with him every day from amateurs all the way up to pros to the gym. And it was when I started out, I used to fall asleep at the gym, and then he said, okay, no more sleeping. And then I started working out, and things happened from there. And so I moved out to Georgia because I heard Atlanta, Georgia had more amateur fights, and that's when I had started my amateur career. My dad didn't want me to have anything to do with boxing, so he wasn't really on my side or supportive with me. So it's something that I just did on my own. And I had a decent amateur career. It was kind of exciting. I made it to the regionals quick, and I remember Calvin Brock and Layman Brewster was, there was one of my roommates at the regionals, and we all fought on a Vander Holyfield team. And he said to me, he said, James, how you get to the regionals? How many fights you had? He said, how many fights you had? I said, I only had like 6 amateur fights. He was like, you're already at the regionals. I couldn't believe it. I didn't understand his first time for me being in tournaments. And they couldn't understand. So my actual roommate said to me, he was like, well, James, these guys, it takes them like 20, 40 fights to get there. And only thing that I could say was, well, I didn't just learn how to box. I've been boxing since I was like 2, 3 years old, like Mayweather. And that was the difference on how I got to the regionals so fast. And we won the first day our team won the regional. It was my win to capture the team trophy for winning the regionals 3 times in a row. I didn't make it to the semifinals. I got sick, and and I kept on fighting a little bit. But I did one thing I had to realize. I found out the hard way is that you can't have you can't have one foot in the ring and one foot in the streets. So and then I just I left it alone after that, and started pursuing promotions.
All right. So what made you get into the promotional aspect of boxing?
Well, talking with my father, when I was telling him, I said, Dad, it's really, I don't see how you can do it, and I asked him, I said, well, how'd you, how to keep a balance? And he told me, he said, well, for him, he wanted to be champion of the world more than anything. So later on, I come to went to go see Mayweather one time out there with Pacquiao, and he said that his father told him at one time that, look, you either going to fight or you're going to party. Which one you going to do? You can't. It's not both. So with that happened, and then I talked to my dad we talked all about that, and he was like, well, there's other things that you can do in boxing if you want to do it. So we went down this whole list, and he just kept cutting me. He kept saying, no. With I asked him about boxing commissioner. No, it's too much headache. Boxing inspector. You don't make no money. And he just kept saying no. Then we got the promotional. We got to be in promotional, and he was like, well, I can see you doing that. And then it started from there, and I started, doing research on some of the things, and I had this, it's crazy how everything turned out, how I ended up in Ohio was because the first time I was supposed to start in Ohio because I got calls from Ricardo Williams' father, and I was talking to those guys, and I had to come out here for a little tour. I was going to do Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. And something went wrong in my personal life, and I wasn't able to make it. So my dad got very upset with me because he was like, you still should have won, and this and that. And after that, I just left it alone for a while. and this was back in 2006. I left it alone for a while, and about 2 years ago, I started my company back up, and I ran into my wife, who I went to school with, but didn't know that she was living in Ohio at the time. And she has kids from a previous marriage, and she didn't want to uproot the kids, and I understood that. So I said, I'll just come there. And I've been talking to Lonnie Redden, who was affiliated with the ABA. I was the president at one point in time, but I wanted to pursue my promotional career, so I left. I didn't leave the ABA. I just stepped down and started working more on my promotions, and that's how things started. And I'm here in Ohio at Lima, in Lima, Ohio.
Yeah. How do you end up in Lima, Ohio? And what's the draw there, other than your wife being from that area? I mean, is this something where, when you look at Brockton, you look at Lima, they're both kind of blue-collar towns. They're not real big.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes, and there's a story behind Lima as well. So Lonnie Retton, who's my partner, and he does all the amateur things, and it was, when she gave me the tour, and I looked, and some of the things that they're rebuilding Lima, and we're trying to keep kids off the street as well. So that's one thing that I liked about it, and I like that everybody was real supportive, and of these kids, and they got a lot of things going on as far as fundraisers that they're doing for kids. The community jumps right behind their kids, and that's something that I like. And when I was with the ABA, we was moving in those directions, and we're still moving in that same direction. So that was great. I didn't get off track of anything like that. I'm still on track of wanting to help kids, and we're trying to get some kids to get on that Olympic team, the American Olympic team, because now we'll be lucky to get a medal.
Well, the way it's going now, we'll be lucky to have boxing as a sport in the Olympics.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. Yeah, because they got, I think Joe Brown and them guys they got a lot of problems on their hands.
Well, I mean, there's a case to be made that Olympic boxing is even more corrupt than professional boxing over the last 50 years.
You're right. I think his name is John Brown. So I keep calling him Joe. But yeah, you're right. I haven't really been following too tough on that because I've been, putting a lot of my attention into, looking at some of the pro fighters and stuff like that. But from what I'm hearing, what everybody is talking, you're right. And it's always kind of been like that anyways, from even when I was fighting amateur and Holyfield.
Oh, yeah, it's always, if you go back
Jones,
to Evander Holyfield, Kevin Barry in 84, Roy Jones getting screwed over in the Olympics, Mayweather getting screwed over in the Olympics. Yeah. And it's just like every other aspect of life. Politics ruins everything.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I think a lot of the reasons why there's not as many great American fighters anymore is because of that lack of Olympic. I mean, when's the last time we had some great Olympic boxers? I mean, you look back at the 76 Olympic team. Yeah, and Andre Ward is not a young man anymore.
I know. And then I didn't think he got robbed. The guy from Newark, New Jersey, what's his name again? He fought the gold medal round. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. He's from Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, but see, this is the point right there. You can't even remember his name, but you could recite the 76 and 84 Olympic boxing teams. And, and I think the biggest problem with the U.S. Olympic boxing team or U.S. amateur boxing overall is you had a lot of those guys like Sarge Johnson, Raleigh Schwartz, who died off, and there was nobody there to come in and pick it up and to continue to program at the level it was at.
Right. I think his name is Stevenson.
Oh, Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to be a really good pro, too.
Yeah. And then I watched that fight when he lost the gold medal. I just think I didn't think they took it from him. I just didn't think he did enough to win it in that last round because everybody was saying that he got robbed. And when I watched it, I looked at it and I was like, he just didn't. The other kid, I think he lost a kid from what, I think it's France. He won it the last time. And I just think the kid just was a little bit too much for him at coming into the end of the rounds. Like my dad said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I just didn't think Steven did enough to seal the deal. You have to take it. They're just not going to give it to you.
Well, that Olympic boxing has just been boring ever since they put headgear on them.
Yeah. Well, that was funny because that year you had a choice. They gave you a choice. Some fights they didn't have headgears on them.
Yeah, in 1976 you didn't have to. In '84, I don't think it was mandatory, but I think all the Americans wore them.
Right. Yeah.
And Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
Shakur Stevenson lost the Cuban. His last name was Ramirez.
Oh, Cuban. Okay. So yeah, Ramirez won it last year. I mean, prior to that too. I think that was his second medal, I think.
All right, so you're doing the boxing in Lima, Ohio. I know you had a show coming up December 29th, but you just had your first show last night. How did that go? Was it well attended?
Yes, it was. The people in Lima showed up, and it was great. I really enjoyed myself there, and Lonnie and those guys did a great job getting everything together and having everything in order. And our main event was kind of good. It could have been a little bit better, but other than that, it was successful. So I do know in Lima that the people out there, and you bring them something nice, they'll come out and support their fellow people. And then we had other people from outside of Lima. We had some other pro fighters come in from outside of Lima, and what they're looking for out there is just somebody that's going to be putting on shows and keeping it consistent.
Yeah, and quality shows is a hard thing to find at a local level anymore, because I know I went to one down here. I went to two. Actually, I went to three over the last 2 or 3 years. Two of them were absolute jokes. There was one show by Nate Tubbs, who did a really good job. Tony Tubbs' brother. Yeah, Nate's a legit guy. He's on the up and up. But I did another one down here at the Bank of Kentucky Center in northern Kentucky around Covington. And the show started 2 hours late because they forgot to pick up the boxing gloves. And then there was another show where actually John Delperdang fought Hank Lundy. And it ended up being in like some soccer facility in Cincinnati. And that kind of went on all night because once the fight was over, and it's the same guy that did the other show, when the fights were over, he didn't have the money to pay the fighters. And the bad thing is the boxing commission basically left before they found that out. So Lundy was stuck here, had no way to get home, had to pay his own way home and everything. I think it was on like New Year's Eve 2 years ago.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah. And plus they were fighting in front of like 14 people in a soccer facility.
14?
Yeah, there was like 14, 15 people there. I didn't go to that one. I went to the first one and I learned my lesson. So I sent one of the guys that works for me to that show, and he calls me at like midnight and he said, I better start videotaping this because I think Lundy's going to beat up the promoter. And
that would have probably been a better fight of the night too.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess Delperdang and Lundy was a good fight. It went 12 rounds. These guys gave the people that were there a good show, but then at the end,
that was good.
They're not getting paid. Yeah, and Lundy's a world-class fighter. Delperdang's a tough guy. And that just, too much of that stuff's happened in the past. That's why when I looked into you and I talked to some people that knew about you, I wanted to have you on the show because I think the more guys we have like you out there, the better chance that you can go back to, the 50s, 60s, 70s where you had club shows that were local, that were quality, and that just gets more people interested in boxing overall and makes them want to go home and watch boxing.
Right, and that's one thing that we have our focus on is to do that, is to bring that type of ever back. And me and Lonnie, we talk about it all the time, and that's one of our focus to do. And I like the fact that the surrounding cities around Lima that do have pro fights, a lot of these kids are just like having their pro fights are like 6-0 and things of that nature. And they were big time promoters already, but they still want to stay busy within their community. So, and keep their fighters, busy. So they was asking me they want to fight on the card. I got so many fighters calling me and asking me to fight on this card in December, and it's like I can't put everybody on there, you know. But we got the Civic Center locked up for next year, so we just going to be just put on shows and keep it interesting.
All right, you got any local TV contracts or anything for any of the shows?
Well, yeah, we got Bounce TV.
Okay.
They're gonna put our shows on their network, regional. So you know, and then we got some couple other sponsors that I can't just say it yet, but hopefully that goes well, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, and that's another big problem with local shows. It's harder to get sponsors now than it ever has been.
I don't know, but I guess so.
At least it is in the Cincinnati area, from what some promoters down here have told me.
Well,
I assume that's everywhere else, but
right. Well, that's what Lonnie said. The same thing. He said he was having. I mean, they're reluctant to do amateur shows more than pros, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So you're doing. Is this a Pro-Am December the 29th, and where at in Lima, Ohio is this?
It's going to be at the Civic Center.
Okay.
Downtown. I think it's downtown Lima. Quite sure.
All right. And if people want to follow along as you announce the card and everything, where would they find you? Do you have a website, Facebook page, or Twitter?
Yeah, you can go to Southside Spartans. You can follow me on Instagram, James Hagler 40. You can follow me on Twitter, James Hagler Hands, and Facebook page, James Hagler Promotions.
All right, James. So I'm sure you follow boxing. Who are some of your favorite fighters to watch nowadays?
Nowadays, I like the new guys. I'm watching Mikey Garcia. I like him. I like Robert Easton, Andre Bono, Earl Spence, Sean Porter. I had a chance to meet Sean Porter at the Boxing Expo in Vegas. A lot of little fighters was there.
Yeah, we've had him on the network before. He's a great guy. So's his dad.
Yeah, Demetrius Andres, another one. He's another good friend of him. Him and his father. They're good peoples, you know. And Chalo. I like to see them guys. All those guys fight. Canelo. What's his? I always forget his name, but he's in that era with those guys.
Danny Jacobs? Yeah, I like Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
I think Danny Jacobs will give Canelo all he can handle, but I also think that's why Canelo will never fight him.
I think they will. Well, I know Canelo. Danny Jacobs gave Demetrius Andres some work when for Demetrius' last fight, because he just won the title, I think the WBA title, middleweight title. So I think he will fight Canelo. They all have to fight. It's good for boxing. So
yeah, but the problem is Oscar De La Hoya on that one. I think. I mean, it's just they made it Golovkin wait 2 or 3 years longer than what he should have too.
Right, but that's Oscar, because that's his only thing he got. That's all he got.
I know. He's got that. He's got the pictures of him in the nylons and stuff. You can't forget that.
I know. Yeah, I see. But that's like Gil Clancy back in the '80s doing that to my dad. They didn't want to give my dad a title shot, and they had the middleweight champions. They knew that my dad would beat them, so they ducked him for years, man.
Oh yeah,
and that's crazy.
And
that's what Oscar De La Hoya is doing with Canelo. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think everybody ducked your dad from about 1976 or 77 till 1980 when he finally got the shot against Alan Mentor. But to me, I would rather watch guys from back in that era, because I just think the thing that stands out to me today is it's like when you watch Mayweather and Pacquiao. I hear people, people that say Floyd Mayweather could beat Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, I don't think that would have ever happened. I mean, when you watch these guys, the thing about this is Sugar Ray Leonard, until about 82 or 83, when he started picking things and had to have everything his own way, this is a man that beat Tommy Hearns. And I think Tommy Hearns would have gave Floyd Mayweather more, because I never saw Sugar Ray Leonard or Floyd Mayweather really go out and try to close a show. Where guys like Leonard, Hearns, your dad, Duran, those guys would try to close the show. Even if they're up 10 or 11 rounds to nothing, they're going to try to get the knockout.
Yeah. They're gonna tell because that's what it was about. If you can get him out of there, go home. You know. Yeah. My dad said many times that he hit a guy and thought he had the guy out, and then tried to take him out and woke him back up.
And when you don't knock him out, you get screwed over like he did against Sugar Ray Leonard. But
yeah.
That's a whole other story. Because my favorite fighters growing up were like your dad, Evander Holyfield, guys like that. Because those were guys that, if you were going to pay to see them fight, they were never going to disappoint you. You were always going to get a show.
Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of these guys today are playing it so safe that they kind of forget that. And I don't blame them because it's a rough sport. But still, if you want to be an all-time great, if you want to be compared with Sugar Ray Robinson or Marvin Hagler or Sugar Ray Leonard, you got to close the show. You can't just
you got to get out there and fight, no question.
Yeah. You can't let Roberto Guerrero or Robert Guerrero, whatever his name is, go 12 rounds with you. You can't let. I mean, does anybody here think Andre Berto could have lasted 12 rounds against Sugar Ray Robinson or Sugar Ray Leonard?
Nah.
He would have lasted about 45 seconds.
Yeah, no, not at all. I believe that as well.
All right, James. Hey, it was great to have you on the show. And when we get closer to December 29th, we'd love to have you back again if you're interested.
Definitely.
And
I like to bring Lonnie with me as well too.
Well, we could do something every week or every couple weeks with you. You have Lonnie on. You could have some of your area boxers from Lima, whether it be pro or amateur. And we'll just kind of follow along here at the Grueling Truth and follow what you do up there in Lima, Ohio.
Oh, that'd be great. I would like that, most definitely.
All right, James, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. I want to remind everybody you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for James Hagler, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.